Welcome back to Creating Cooperative Kids. I'm your host, Bill Corbett. If you're just joining us, regular viewers know that I use this last segment to answer viewers' questions that come into my email box. So to send me your parenting question, simply send an email to questions@cooperativekids.com, and perhaps I'll select yours on a future episode. First, let me introduce my panel of guests who will help me answer today's questions. Abby Stokes is the author of Is This Thing On? A Computer Handbook for Late Bloomers, Technophobes, and the Kicking and Screaming. Rick Woods is a professional organizer with 2 children of his own. And Deborah Alley is the executive director of the Huntington Learning Center, a tutoring service for children. I've asked my guests to come back on the set to help me answer this question from a viewer. The parent writes, "My 8-year-old continues to demand an iPhone. She says, all of her friends have one, and it sure seems that way to me as a parent. How do I get her to stop asking for one, or do I just give in and get her one?" Well, I first want to address the parent and parents like this, parents who have a very similar situation. It does look like this to your child. I'll tell you right now, because they look around the world and everybody seems to have an iPhone or an Xbox or whatever the issue is, and they believe that they should have one as well. So the first step for parents is relax. Don't get upset, don't get angry. What I found oftentimes is parents feel so resentful because of all the things I've done for you and that you already have, and then you have the nerve to ask for an iPhone on top of that. So rule 1, parents, calm down. Now we're talking about an 8-year-old here in this with this parent, and I really suggest that we hold off, that mom develop the courage to hold off getting that device as long as possible, because it's technology intended for adults and it gives the child a doorway to the internet. And if the mom if the mom decides that she needs to give her that phone, the best thing you can do is monitor it. So I want to throw this question at my guests to see what their take is. If you have any advice for this parent, and we'll start with Abby. What do you think, Abby?
I think 8 years old is way too early. I mean, point blank, I would say no. And no, boundaries are love. And so what you're doing is actually telling them you love by telling them no. But I would say this, when the time is right for a child to get a phone, when you're comfortable with it, make them earn the money to buy the phone. It's a goal. I remember earning money to buy my first car, and I respected that car so much because I paid for it. But you pay the monthly fee based on their behavior or whatever other criteria. So you still control the ability to use the device, but I think it's really good for them to have a goal they want to achieve and watch them achieve it, and then it's their phone.
Excellent.
But 8's way too young.
Yeah. And this is why I throw it to my panel, because all of our brains put together offer more advice than just what I got on my own. Rick, what do you think?
I think to have any phone 6 years later is a possibility, but with any phone. And I would say you start with a flip phone that you just text on, and that's it. I wouldn't even go with the multi-view phone like an iPhone or a Droid or anything like that.
Yeah, you're right, and I think a lot of parents are confronted with the fact that technology is so cheap today. It's like, we'll get it for them. Or the other thing is the parents themselves had nothing when they were young, so this is like, I want to give everything to my kids. Or the other problem is divorce. The parents feel so guilty. They're so easy to cough up something like this and let their children have whatever they want.
And I also agree with the iPhone. You can get into Facebook and social media, and I would try to stay away from that until they're a lot older.
Right. Good. Deborah, what do you think?
Well, I also tend to think that 8 years old is too young. However, I know some parents, when they look at their child, they may think, oh, that she's mature enough to be able to handle that phone. If that's the case and you feel your child is mature enough to do that, then make sure there are rules around having that phone. It's there for a reason. It's there for emergency phone calls. It's not there for you to be texting. 8 years old is way too young to be texting messages. And define what those rules are if you're going to let your child have a phone. But I probably would not give one to an 8-year-old. But if you really feel they're mature enough, set some rules and make sure it has a purpose.
I think a big problem is parents are so overwhelmed today. They're overwhelmed. Their employers are demanding more from them. They're having to do more with less, and it's just one more battle that they don't want to have to deal with. The only problem with that is that's like leaving parenting to the last 15 minutes you have at the end of the day. It's not. Parenting needs to be done throughout all of your time with your child. And I'm now seeing 6-year-olds with these phones, and it's really unfortunate. But the hardest thing for parents is just because the child is demanding it, you don't have to give it to them. And parents feel like they have to do something. They have to give in to them to quiet them down. if you're, like Rick, what you mentioned before, start with a flip phone at that age. If you really think your child needs one, like Deborah says, then part-time, when they go to when they're leaving the house or something like that. And Rick, you say with the flip phone, because, phone providers offer a really good parent controls now. Mm-hmm. Now, you can't exactly see text and everything, but you can control who they can text and who can text them back. And those provider control panels for parents are very powerful in helping them. Anybody have any last-minute comments?
Ergonomically, let's be very clear. This is not doing a child any favors. So the later they get these devices in the hands, the less, seriously, we're going to come up with all of these issues about back and hand and eye issues from this overuse of this. So the later they get it, the better it is for them just physically.
And communication as well.
Yeah.
I mean, kids aren't learning to communicate
Eye
anymore.
contact.
They're just doing the text thing, and they
Yeah.
need to learn to open their mouth and talk to people and learn how to communicate with their friends.
Even with our own children, they said, well, nobody uses the phone these days. Well, of course not if you've got these kind of devices.
Yeah,
Right?
my teenage daughter has a flip phone right now, and she never calls. I look at the plan, she has like 1 minute on that phone last couple of years, that's it.
Another thing you could do is give her, something like an egg or a toy and pretend like that's your phone and see how long it takes for her to lose it. Let that be the rule. If you can't hold on to this thing, then you can't hold on to a telephone. It's about responsibility.
Yeah, definitely. Well, listen, I thank you so much for your input on that, and I hope the mom who's watching this show got some good suggestions, some good advice. Don't give it to her yet. Hold off as long as you can. Refraining is probably one of the best things we can do at this point. In today's show, we learned some great tips on getting our kids organized at home and at school. I offered 10 steps for breaking our children's screen time addiction, and we got some helpful advice on keeping our kids safe on the internet. I hope you'll tune in to future episodes of this program as I offer more tools to help you rebuild your parenting toolbox as an awesome parent or teacher. If you'd like to get this program in your local viewing area, contact my office to find out how. Making the world a better place to live begins at home as engaged, encouraged, and masterful parents. I'm Bill Corbett. I'll see you the next time on Creating Cooperative Kids.
I'll go to sleep with the lights on.